Hey, what's going on? And welcome back to the Step It Up Entrepreneur Podcast. Thomas Keenan, your host. And we're here in the studio today. And I have an amazing guest that I've been really looking forward to. And to be quite honest with you, I was a bit surprised and like, whoa, what the hell are these guys doing reaching out to me? I got Shaun Clark from HighLevel. And if you guys don't know who Shaun is or the software company that he is a co-founder of is, then you're probably living under a rock as far as I'm concerned. But man, I'm super excited to have you in here and have a conversation with you. I know you've done some massive stuff for the small business entrepreneurial space. I'm a user of your products and I love it and I recommend it to as many people as I possibly can. Just so honestly, just to have you in here and have a conversation with you is an honor, and I'm just excited to have you, man. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Yeah, this is pretty cool. So I don't know if everyone knows this, but a little bit of background research I did on you. This is not your first rodeo when it comes to software.
No, it's my second.
Yeah.
Well, a second out of the ones that had some success. We had lots of failures in the middle that don't make the resume.
Yeah, that's hey, that's part of the process as far as I'm concerned.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. How did you get into software? What was the pull for software for you as an entrepreneur?
Well, I've always been a computer nerd, and I'd like to say that I still am. But I would say so early on for me, I liked engineering a lot, but I didn't like physical engineering because I wasn't that precise or accurate. I loved computers because something blows up and you just reboot. So that was very appealing. And then from there, I started, of course, to see how it could really change things in the real world, and particularly for small businesses. And I was just really enamored by that idea. And so just always fell in love with it and thought, wow, I'd really like to use this to help people. And when I had an opportunity to do that, I just jumped in, and went for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the things that like just blows me away with what you currently got going on with HighLevel now is the fact that you've got this massive team and remote massive team, and you guys are just
Very much.
rolling out updates like crazy. Like, look, I've been involved with and around multiple software platforms at this point in time in my career. Anything from CRMs to service-based management softwares to task like a bunch of stuff. I mean, it's just the way the world operates today in today's small business world. It's like everyone's got a software stack at this point.
Totally.
To me, it's like I've never seen a company besides HighLevel and the stuff that you guys are doing that kicks out consistent updates and new features and new rollouts like you guys are doing. I'm trying to wrap my head around what the leadership of the company looks like to make this possible, especially in a remote environment.
Sure. So, I mean, we've been remote since inception, and I was remote for probably 10 years prior to that. So I've been remote back when it was super weird. Like it just looked like I was like a grifter without a job or something. So, my neighbors were like, what's wrong with that guy? But I've always loved it. And I like it a lot because I think it gets away from things like management by walking around. It's like, oh, Bob's here at the office early. He must be doing a great job, right? Or, oh, Bob always stays late. But it's like, oh, no, actually, Bob's just super inefficient and slow. So it takes him forever to get the job done, right? Like that type of stuff. I've always liked that. But I think what it did for us initially is make our business possible. And it was funny because it started to make our business harder because as we scaled on our engineering side, a lot of people were finding it hard to understand how you could have a legit engineering job at home. And we were right before COVID, we were about to sign a lease to like an office to make us like feel more legit. And luckily for us, we didn't do that. And actually COVID really helped for all the terrible things it did. It did help legitimize, work at home. And then that helped accelerate us. And now what I find is it's getting better by the day because all these crazy companies are forcing people to go back in the office. And we are not. And so if you really enjoy, not having to commute or not having to buy extra clothes for work or not having to buy extra gas to commute in, and you're really talented, like we want to hear from you kind of thing. And I wouldn't do it any other way. Now, it certainly presents its own challenges, but what I think it forces you to do is ask the question like, how do I judge people based on their work output, not their show up rate or their, on time rate or this or that. It's really more like, are they getting the job done? Yes or no. And I think that's a way more the right way to judge people.
Yeah. So let me ask you on that. How do you monitor and keep track of the teams to ensure that they are outputting the proper amount of work?
Well, it's a little different at our size. So we've got about 650 odd employees at this point.
Mhm.
So what I do is I meet with so we're really a product and engineering company more than anything else.
Mhm.
So every day of the week, first thing I do in the morning is get on with a product team, and they're presenting where they're at in their release cycle, and we only plan a quarter in advance, so we know kind of roughly what we're doing for that quarter. We
Mhm.
know where they should be. The product managers kind of know where they should be, and then they're working with the development teams underneath them for each of those features to get those things done. And I think the way this all translates out is at all checks along the way, there's a lot of pressure to get it done as fast as possible because we like to release quickly, right?
Mhm.
And so I think if someone is on the team not releasing quickly, it very quickly comes up as an issue. And then the question is like, hey, what's up? So it's
Yeah.
really hard to hide in our organization. Not that it's impossible, not that it doesn't happen, this and that, but it's very quickly discovered. And you're either kind of like, oh shoot, I'm gonna change my perspective, or I'm gonna go find another job because I don't want to work here because it's just too fast paced for me. So I think from the development perspective, engineering perspective, it works itself out pretty well.
Yeah, I love it. So let me ask you this too, as well. Is culture a big thing for you in the company? Is it something that you believe in and have
Insane.
infused?
Most important thing in the company by a
Yeah,
long shot.
yeah.
Because what we would say we do differently, and I would say why we do everything the way we do it is because we're really focused on our customer. And I know everybody says that,
Mm.
but I mean, we from the very start, we've taken the position, listen, we are here to serve our customer. And so much so that every idea that we put out is a customer idea. Every feature we develop is a customer feature. There's nothing on our roadmap that represents my personal beliefs on anything. And if anything, I would actually argue the reverse, which is there are things on the roadmap I would personally never, ever, ever feel necessary to deliver. And we deliver them all the time because in my world and in our world, the customer always wins. So,
Yeah.
and we have a public facing ideas list, customers vote on it. And there are things that are very popular on there that boggle my mind, but it doesn't matter because it's not about
Mhm.
me. It's about delivering what our customer wants. And that culture infuses itself everywhere. And we've always been like, we always put engineers on the phone with customers. We put product managers on the phone. Nobody hides from customers in our world because it just runs against the grain. So I think you put all that through, and it's that culture that actually defines our success. Because when I'm not around, I'm not watching you, do you make the right decision? And is that and a right decision for us is what is pro customer? And if you're making that right decision, you're doing great. But without culture, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, love it. So go back to the startup days, right?
Sure.
And from my
I feel like I'm
experience,
still
this
there, but okay.
I mean early, right? This is my opinion and what I've seen with a lot of my clients in the small business space. Um, they have the business idea. They go out
Yep.
there, they get all the basics done. They get the LLC, they get the all the legal stuff dialed in, they get the bank accounts, they start adding the software and the email and the domain, all the crap, right? The business cards if you're
Yeah.
still using them these
Sure.
days. And then they sell the first client, whatever it may be, the
Yeah.
widget, the service. Then they get stuck in this rat race of fulfillment and they have skipped over the culture building implementation stage of small business. And they try to go
Sure.
back to it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years later when they realize it's a problem. What was it like for you guys? Was culture one of the first things that you checked off that list or said, hey, this is about what we want to do before you move forward?
Well, maybe. We I don't think we did it. I don't think we did it directly. I think we did it sort of tangentially or as a, I mean I don't know. I was going to say instinctively, but I don't think that's true. I think it was just a pure accident. So first of all, we didn't do anything you just described. So we didn't get any of the legal stuff knocked out. We didn't bother with LLCs. We didn't get business cards. I think we probably bought a domain, but much beyond that, we didn't do much because we just didn't have a lot of faith. Like that we were going to necessarily be successful initially. Who knew? And in fact, great example is HighLevel 1.0 was a total failure. The story I love to tell about this is, we sort of created HighLevel 1.0. We're selling to small businesses. They're adopting it, and then they're canceling after 2 weeks, which for myself and my original co-founder Varun, who's still our CTO to this day, we're just boggled because it was like, okay, wait, I don't get it. So because we talk to these folks and they'd say, oh, we really love this, we know we need it, but we don't have the time to implement it. And I was like, oh my god, what is happening? It's like we're in this crazy wacky mirror world where somebody's saying I need something but I'm not going to use it, and as engineers that just doesn't comport, right? But this is part of the process, and this is kind of what we sort of understood, which is the sooner you get out on the field and take some hits, you're going to learn some things. And so, but I think what the way by which we went about that was to get on the phone with customers nonstop. And I think from that beginning, we created that culture sort of almost accidentally. And then if anything, I would say we didn't give up a lot of that, maybe until later than we should have initially. But looking back on it now, it gave no excuses, right? So like if the CEO of the company and the CTO are getting on constant customer calls, it's really hard for the support manager to say, I'm not going to do that. Or for the accountant to say, I'm not going to do that. It's like, the hell you're not. Like, yes, you are, right? Or you're not working here. And so it was really hard for them to push back. And I think what I would take away from all of that is that leadership comes from the top. Everybody gets the excuse of what they will or will not do from the person above them, and it keeps cascading up until you get to the very top. So if the CEO thinks it's beneath them to do this or that, somebody else down the line is going to think that way. Even there it is. Even six levels deep or something crazy. And if you really trace that back at how it happened, it's because they got it from their boss, who got it from their boss, who got it from their boss, who got it from you, and it's your dumb fault. So I think for me, that was always just something I understood, and from the very get-go, I focused on.
Yeah, that's really good insight there. I appreciate you sharing for sure. So let's go back a little further again here, right? I came into HighLevel. I had a bunch of people who I knew, other business owners, marketing professionals, agencies, who were sort of in the circle talking about it, and they really weren't like letting the cat out of the bag either. They were kind of holding on to it tight for a while. And then, more and more people started using it. A friend of mine gave me an app and I had access, and I was like, whoa, all of this stuff that I have in all of these 9 or 10 different other platforms is in this one piece.
Totally.
Was that the initial vision for what you guys wanted to do? Was it the initial inspiration, or was it like, no, we actually just kind of stepped into it?
Well, okay. So speaking it from as an engineer, I would say as fun as that would be as step one, it's also impossible to be a step one. So your step one has to be much simpler. And the first step one we had, and this goes back to our backstory, the way we escaped the direct sale to the SMB was we got a call from a marketing agency. And that person actually, his name is Robin Alex, and he's now our third co-founder. And what he really did is a couple things. So he opened our eyes, first and foremost, to the fact that SMBs who are wildly successful and scale well almost always have the help of someone or some entity, and we'll just call them an agency, helping them on the marketing side. So that was really big. So for us, it was, hey, if you want to help the small business, help the agency. So that's A. So then once we did that, we started talking to agencies like, well, what's your problem in life, right? And their problem in life, and this is, I think, the most important thing to do is understand people's problems, not, making a hammer or a saw. Make sure that you understand how you're going to solve their issue. And so the agencies we ran into initially, they were all running Facebook ads and generating leads for their clients, and they were doing really well with that, but they were still getting fired. And when we looked at the why, it was because they would hand over a spreadsheet of names and phone numbers and questions and answers and all this stuff to the dentist, the doctor, the lawyer, the whatever. And the person would say, well, wait, I don't get it. None of these people ever signed up or bought my stuff. Like, you're fired. And the agency was just beside themselves. Like, well, why didn't you call these people? Or why didn't you follow up? Why didn't you, whatever. And, what we learned early on is people aren't going to do that. So we thought, well, what if we automate that process for the agency, right? And when we did this, it was initially just using text and email. It was radically successful because what we found was quite simple. If you talk to a person within 5 minutes of signing up on a Facebook ad, the likelihood they'll take the next step is radically high. And so we changed the lives of many an agency owner, and that literally was our step one. Mm-hmm. And we just honestly built out from there. And as we went along, we did eventually get to the point where we said, okay, we've been doing this for about a year and a half. I think what we can be here long term is the operating system for the agency, is what we said at the time. And that was kind of, I would say, our big phase one, but that was definitely after step one.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I think that's important too. And I think the angle you guys approached it with was genius. And for those who are listening who aren't familiar, like you guys aren't selling directly to small businesses, SMBs. I mean, you can. People do sign up for it, I'm sure, as a because you have a couple different tiers as far as the agency accounts are concerned. But that's not really who you're going after. You're looking more for an agency who's then going to go and resell the product to a
Yeah,
small business directly, and they're also going to have
absolutely.
the technical know-how, the skill set, the understandings, the basics of digital marketing, and then some in order to properly roll out, build out the platform. Because I honestly think, as a small business owner who's had to implement software myself multiple times at this point, it's one of the most daunting tasks. So it's a pain in the butt to go find a software solution that fits. And let's just be real, there's not a single software out there that fits all of your needs. You'll never find it,
Oh,
right? But when you do find one that, hey, maybe hits that 70% mark, that 75% mark, cool, let's try this one out. Oh, great. I just signed up. I'm paying 300, 400, 500 bucks a month. And now all of a sudden I've got to dedicate myself and 10 team members to trying to implement and make this thing work within a timely manner so I can get an ROI.
totally, 100%.
Yeah. So by
All I, by the
having,
way, operate my existing business, which actually pays all the bills and keeps the lights on and is what I actually am really good at and know how to do. But now I've also decided I'm going to become a part-time software implementation plus marketing person at the
Mhm.
same time. And yeah, I find those things to be very incompatible.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So I think the model that you guys have with it's just brilliant. The fact that you're selling to the pros and the pros then implement this properly for the end user. And I think it's the way to go.
I would agree. We take a very strident view in this regard. I mean, I think that
Mhm.
every other person who tries to sell to SMBs is being at best disingenuous to those people. I think, and at worst, I think it's criminal. I think they're lying to people and saying, "Hey, you can take this very complex thing and use it on your own." And I don't honest. I hope in the long term this comes to be seen like accounting and taxes. You know, we all know we could do our own taxes, but real business owners know that's suicide
Yeah.
because you're going to fundamentally miss something. You're going to get hit with a fine. You're not going to get the letter, and you're going to get penalties and this and this and this and this, and all of
Mhm.
a sudden you're going to so quickly pay for the bill for a professional tax accountant have done the gosh darn job to begin with that it's embarrassing that you even tried. And oh, by the way, in the whole time you also wasted money and your own time, and
Mhm.
no one would say that's a smart idea. And the only people we know who do it are really early on, or they're new at business or this or that. They just don't understand. But real business owners use tax accountants for the simple fact that it's cheaper, faster, and easier to do it, and more accurate. And I think that there is no difference here personally when it comes to setting up sophisticated software. And by the way, let's it's not just software. It's all the stuff that makes the software work. I mean, the software is just tools, right? Hammers and saws and nails and stuff. But if you don't know how to build a house, man, it can give you all the tools in the world. You're just gonna whack yourself on the thumb with the hammer and call it a day. So we really believe that it is a professional job with lots of. And by the way, it's not even if you knew everything there was to know today, it's changing. Like it's changing all the time. And if you can't keep up with those changes, and I don't see this as any different. Like I'm telling you, if my air conditioner breaks today or my water heater or something, I am not going to go to Home Depot and buy one and try to put it in myself because I don't know what I don't know. And I don't want to miss that one thing. So I flood my house or the thing burns down. Forget it. I'm going to call, my local HVAC or plumbing person who I know constantly is being updated. They know the new
Yep.
technology. They know what was working and now what's going to work. And if anything goes wrong, they're going to be there to support me. That is worth
Mhm.
so much. And I think that's exactly what people need to start thinking about when it comes to marketing software and operational software and that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
So this is something I cover heavily with my clients. It's lessons I've had to learn myself over 20 plus years of a professional career. And I grew up as a blue collar guy working on cars. So to me, it was like, oh, there's a problem. I have tools. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's right.
And I did that for years. And I started getting into coaching and I started hiring coaches. I had a guy I was working with out in New York who ran me through this time study exercise, and I've since gone and made my own version of it. It's in my book. It's something I work. One of the first things I do with all my clients when they come through is we're going to figure out your WPH, your worth per hour, right? Which is real simple. Approximately how much money you put into your bank account last year divided by 2080, which is roughly 40 hours a week. It'll give you a very close idea to how much you're worth per hour. Cool. That just gave us the KPI. We know where we're at. Now, anything that's below that dollar amount, you are never to touch it ever again. And I don't care if you enjoy, if you're very serious about succeeding here, you're going to let that stuff go
Yeah,
and go find a professional to
that's
go
right.
do it for you. Yeah. And then the time study comes in, and the time study is brutal. It's not fun, right? But this is to make you aware of where you're wasting your time. What are you doing that you don't need to be doing? What are you doing that needs to get off your plate, either delegated or even eliminated out of your company? And
Yeah.
it's 2 weeks long, and it's literally you're writing down things, everything that you do, personal or professional, and you're breaking it into 15-minute increments. And usually by day three,
Like a
you've had
it's
enough.
like a diet plan, man. Yeah, this sounds painful.
It
Like,
is,
no
it is.
more
But you know
no
what?
more cheeseburgers for me.
Yeah. Sometimes you need that pain to have the
I don't
input.
disagree. I mean, I think that's a wonderful thing to do because there's no way people ever even think to do that for themselves.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a game changer. And when you start looking at it for that perspective, you start saying, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to go hire the CFO or the tax accountant or the CPA firm or even just the bookkeeper, right? I'm going to go and I'm
Totally.
going to hire the marketing agency and let them implement for me rather than me tinker around and have it somewhat work for the next 6 months."
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. What's funny is we hired a so before we had this in house early on, one of the things we did is we outsourced to a bookkeeping firm. And this bookkeeping firm came in and they said, we'll do all this stuff, but you have to use I think it was like NetSuite or something. I can't some other accounting platform than we were using QuickBooks. And at first I put up a big fight about it because I feel like, oh, I know software and I'm a software engineer and da 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 da. But what I realized over time was like, I don't even care actually if this is better or worse than QuickBooks, because the great news is they just do the job. And it actually ended up being awesome because there's just one less thing I had to think about, one less thing I had to interact with. It was just turnkey and solved. I thought it was such a genius move at the end of the day for them. And so I was like, gosh, I wish more people would do that. Just compartmentalize all this for me. And I knew what software I was using. I could log into it if I wanted to, and this and that. But at the end of the day, it was a turnkey solution, and it was really solving the full problem versus me trying to shoehorn some services in to the stack I already had. And what was great is it looked at them like professionals, right? Like, what, in fact, it was kind of like, gosh, even if these are inferior tools, it doesn't really matter because you still get the job done. And that's actually what I pay you for. So why do I care?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
awesome.
I think that's a really important leadership lesson to learn too, right? So get rid of the micromanaging, right? We're here. We need to be here. And however we get from point A to point B, I don't care as long as the result is there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
So you guys, well, you in particular, you put out update videos all the time, right? I'm getting pinged all the time with them.
My favorite job.
It's the best thing ever. And I get excited like a little kid when I see them come over.
I
Right?
know. I can't. I got one more. I got one to do. Today's a holiday, and
Yeah,
for our dev team, and I still got one to do. So I'm excited.
that's good. I love it. You guys run on Slack heavily internally.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
showed on your videos all the time.
Oh yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about the power of a tool like Slack that helps you run a very large remotely based team and also stay. I mean, communication is imperative in any business, especially with a remote team.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think what's great about something like Slack is it's asynchronous. So you can send messages at any time, and there's various ways to create urgency if necessary. But in general, it's sort of like you're able to just sort of give people information and get it back at a reasonable pace, and you're happy. And it's direct. So instead of like, hey, let's schedule a meeting and let's get together on a call and this and that, it's like, forget all that. Like, unless it's necessary, let's not bother. And if it is really necessary, it's actually like you almost, I've started to use huddles more in Slack because it's just like, no, this is so urgent. I'm calling you right now. Like, we're talking. And so it allows communication to be what you need it to be. But more than anything, it's direct. You're not sending emails and hoping people get to it and sending out a calendar link and scheduling. It's like you don't elongate that process and create a lot of friction. You just cut through it.
Yeah, no, I love it too. Started using it myself. It's got to be 7 years ago. My GPS installation company. We were a remote company. It's so many similarities. Like, granted, my company was on a much smaller scale, but we were the weirdos who worked from home when it wasn't a thing, right?
Yeah.
And got to a point where my team grew. We had, I don't know, 25, 26 or so technicians on the road, plus some people working remote home
You
office
need
jobs.
something to communicate
Yeah,
in that
we did.
situation.
The problem we ran into was I think we had AT&T at the time for company cell phones, and we couldn't
Okay.
have everyone on the same text message thread anymore. Too many people.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well,
So
because that makes sense, right? Because you're trying to scale your company, texting like makes sense, and you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So went over, found, I was like, I need a solution. Let's roll something out here. Found it. It was Slack, and it did wonders for us. And just some of the cool things we were able to do: separate channels. We had a channel for the technicians, and we had a channel for the office staff, completely separate.
That's smart. Yeah,
Yeah, it
that's
was
really
very
smart,
smart.
right?
Yeah. But we also had a channel in there that I still use to this day in my current company. It's called Ring the Bell, right? And this is like, hey, it's hashtag Ring the Bell. This is where we share wins. If someone says something
Yeah.
good about the company, if we get publicized someplace, if a client goes and leaves a review, we're sharing it in here and we're getting everyone kind of hyped up on it and get, just a good tingly feelings going.
Yeah, we do
And
the
it
same
just
thing.
helps.
We call it random, but it's the same concept. Every time we get a 5-star review, I try to throw it in that channel.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty cool to watch it happen. What's on the horizon here? Because we're coming close to 2024 already, right? We
Yep.
just kicked off Q4 here. What's 24 look like for HighLevel and your team over there?
It's going to be exciting. Well, so for us, of course, we have our little update every October at the end where we're really kind of formally showing this off because the way we do it is product and features. So for us, we have some massive releases coming up. One of the biggest ones I'm excited about is ecom because it's a market that we haven't been able to help people with. It's one that a lot of this journey is about me kind of coming to understand things. And sometimes I'm kind of stupid, so it takes me a while. But I catch up eventually. And what I realized here was originally early on, I was looking at ecom and thinking, well, why would we ever do that? Because it feels to me like there's already these big players and this and that. But having talked to a lot of agencies, what I come to realize is it's yet again, if you have the feature in the app, they're going to take advantage of it because you're able to bring things together. And then, I was looking recently, there's a company called Klaviyo. They just IPO'd. 79% of their business comes from Shopify, and really their SMS and email solutions around Shopify. And Shopify has like this a big investment in them. They have like a 7-year agreement to not compete. So if I'm a Shopify customer and I want to send an SMS or an email marketing and do all this stuff, I actually have to also buy this other product. I'm like, well, that's terrible. So I'm like, that's it. We're doing this because we already have all the marketing functions. Let's just bring in the ecom. And I've talked to a bunch of agency owners, and they're already really excited. So I think we have a great play there. And if we're really truly trying to continue to do what we set out to do, which is truly help small business, ecom is a huge part of every small business, and certainly should be. And I don't care if you have a beauty salon or you're an online shopping person. Everyone needs a piece of ecom. You should be selling something. I don't care if it's T-shirts with your name on it. There's if you have great excited customers, so that's very exciting. We've been going international slowly. We've internationalized the app in 13 languages. So we're launching WhatsApp, which outside the US is huge. It's how everybody communicates. There's no SMS pretty much outside of the US and Canada, give or take. It's all WhatsApp. So we're excited about that. And then a billion little things that are going to help everybody. So like we're going to come out with IVR. So if you're starting businesses right now and you need to press 1 for this and press 2 for that, we'll have that. We just released Conversation AI, which if you haven't seen Conversation AI, it's awesome. The future of being able to talk to a small business via chat is huge. And now with the ability to easily you just take your client's website, you throw it into the bot, say, go train yourself. It trains on the client's website, and bam, you've got yourself actual fully trained conversational AI that can get people to book appointments. Pretty phenomenal. We've already seen it. I had a guy hit me up the other day. He has a chiropractic business, and he said, "Hey, I just booked my first patient with the conversation AI automatically," and he is technologically semi-inept, in my opinion. So it was pretty awesome. I was like, "We're definitely hitting the mark if we've got you." And so on and on and on it goes. I mean, we have mobile payments now in the app. So we're starting to get to the point where we're splintering out the things that maybe they don't affect everybody, but in aggregate, they affect everybody. But what I love is that means we're really maturing the product and getting all that out. So in 2024, for me, it's really about taking this model where we've created these tools that given to the right people, there's no one they can't serve. There's no one that can help. And I think it's amazing. And the fact that they're able to make money off of it, white label it, all of these things to me is so important because now I know that we're not just helping small business, we're helping people create businesses. And to me, that's phenomenal. So we just want to see that just grow. And personally, I think the sales model for software that helps small business will continue to move this way, because I know what small businesses need. They don't just need tools. They need help. They need people. They need, actual solutions. And that is the model that we developed. And I can't wait to see it proliferate even bigger.
Yeah, that's awesome. My use case as an agency client of yours is a bit different than most. Like I'm not a
Yeah,
marketing agency, don't want to be, right? Um,
sure.
I've been through enough software rollouts and implementations where I've got a pretty good understanding of what's needed to get things rolling. So
Totally.
when it came time to implementing HighLevel for myself, me and the team took it on, and we've got it functioning at a pretty decent level. Are there always improvements to be made? Sure, there are. It's a never
Heck
ending
yeah.
thing. Um,
Absolutely.
but one of the things that we do with it is not, I don't resell it to my clients. I
Sure.
use it to keep the client sticky.
Yep.
So, hey, let me go in here and train you on some stuff, tell you the importance of why you need this. Oh, and by the way, as long as you're a client over here with us, you got this added as a bonus, right?
Totally.
And even if they're just using a small snippet out of, even if they're using a Linktree template from one of
Totally.
the,
I'm with you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you're
something,
logging in
it's
once a
something.
day for anything, you're good.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's really been useful for us, and just my clients are having success with it. We're helping them build out some things. We've got some like I've seen some of the craziness that others are building inside of the app, and it kind of makes my head spin. It, but at the same point in time,
Totally.
the
I'm
nerd
with
in
you.
me wants to geek out totally. But one of the things I've learned, and you've probably got this too over the course of your career, is sometimes the craziness, the things that look nuts, the big workflows, they're a complete disaster to manage. And keeping things
Totally. Yeah, yeah,
simple
yeah.
or
They're the worst, actually.
separated, yeah, just really helps streamline things. And it's kind of the model that we've taken is, hey, let's just do one small piece at a time. Let's dial this in. Cool. Now we'll move to the next one. Like, what are you seeing with clients now that's working versus not working when it comes to implementing the software?
Oh, I mean, I've always, the funny part about this is we call it sell them what they want, give them what they need.
Hmm.
So I mean, we've long believed we're in the perception reality game. So the vast majority of the features that we create are well beyond what anyone will ever need. It simply just keeps people coming through the door. And what we realized a long time ago was, even if you have something that is a way better moneymaker for someone than they're currently doing, they're not going to come and bother to talk to you. They won't give you any of their time if you can't first give them whatever it is that they're looking for. And so, in reality, like I always like to use, like, I have this HVAC guy here in Eugene. He's the only small business that I've ever sold. And he's still a customer literally 6, 7 years later, $300 a month. And all I do is send out a text message every time he cuts an invoice. And not only is that simple, but it's been profound. So he moved from 12 reviews to 600 reviews. He went from 2 trucks to 30 trucks. And he's the largest independently owned HVAC guy in my town. And if not one of the largest, period. And in time, he'll become absolute number one. And the only two people that are anywhere close are national franchises that have had reputation management well before he did. But the fact that he's local, the fact that there's local ownership, he'll beat those guys out any day now. And at the end of the day, that one thing should be enough for most people to charge $300 a month to any local business, anytime, anywhere. But fundamentally, people don't like that message. So instead, we give them all these other crazy tools so that they can go out and feel like, I think people feel like, oh, if it's too simple, it can't be worth charging for. But I think that's ridiculous. People need to see it from the ROI perspective. If I can give you a $300 product and you can get $3,000 out of it, that's a 10x return. Sold. Let's move on here. You don't need to do anything else. But again, human nature being what it is, you gotta kind of deal with what you find.
Hmm. Yep, I got it. Here's a question for you regarding HighLevel.
Sure.
What are the top 3 features that you believe are the most important inside of that software right now for any business?
I was going to say it depends on who we're talking to, but I mean, really, it's funny. The where we started is still as important as it's ever been. Speed's a lead, wins the day. So I can think of very few businesses that can't show me a lead generation technique, right? And it could be ads, it could be organic, it could be this, it could be that, it could be webinars, blah 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 blah. It doesn't matter. But at some point, it's capture, nurture, close. So I got to capture a lead. Cool. All right, now what do I do at that point? Because this is where everybody falls down. Am I getting to them 5 minutes or less? Probably not. And I am 24/7. You sure about that? 365, 2 a.m. on a Christmas morning? I don't think so. So probably not. So let's fix that. And if I am getting to them, am I getting to take the next step? What is that next step? 90% of the time, it's like booking an appointment, right? I don't care if you're a coach. I don't care if you're an HVAC guy. It doesn't matter. I need to meet with you somehow, some way, somewhere in order to help you actually achieve the value that I promised you wherever it is that I captured, right? Most of the time. So are you nurturing those leads? And most of the time people aren't. So it's truly, in my opinion, it's the simple automation of, hey, thanks a lot for registering for amazing value offer goes here. In order to get you said amazing value goes here, I need you to book an appointment. Is now a good time to book? And and waiting for that reply, using AI and machine learning to know if it's positive or negative. Like really, and these days you really just throw the bot in there and the bot does this by default. But point is, do I get you to actually schedule? You do that one thing and you'll rule the world in 99% of businesses because you'll beat out the competition because they just fundamentally don't do that simple thing very well, nor consistently, which is how you compound over time.
Yep, I get it. All right, I got to bring up a pain point here.
Feel free. That's my daily job. That's what the CEO of a company does.
It's true.
Here's about problems. Fire away.
So, over the last several weeks and or months, actually, there's been this text message compliance, A2P, and
tell me about
it. From my perspective, it started a shitstorm of just craziness with a lot of people. I think a lot of people blew it out of proportion, made it way harder than it needed to be. But could you explain to the listeners here a little bit about why this was implemented and what it's being used for?
Sure. Yeah. So first of all, whoever hears this, it sucks. I hate it. I wish it wasn't here. So I do not at all think this is like, on one hand, I love the idea. So the idea here is, let's just be really legit about this. So I always joke, the only things that Democrats and Republicans can agree on is that they don't like spam text.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end of the day, what was happening was we were all telling our respective representatives, hey, listen, I want this to stop. And they would have taken action. And the carriers saw this coming and they said, holy crap, the last thing we want is for Congress to tell us how to run our business. So we better get on it. So they came together and they said, well, what should we do? So they created this sort of centralized registry. And the idea was simple. Anybody who wants to send a text message through a carrier network that's not a subscriber of ours or a subscriber of yours has to be registered to the extent that we know who they are. Because what they were seeing was simple. Someone would buy a phone number, spam the heck out of it. And then as soon as it got spammed out, they'd flip numbers and bam, they're on to the next. And that, they want to stop that. So they created a centralized registry. And the idea was, hey, listen, folks, over this 2-year period, which is what they gave everybody, we want everybody to move to a point where they register so that if a text is sent, we know who sent it. We can identify it all the way back to either the individual with a social security number or as a business, as a sole prop, or EIN as a S Corp or a C Corp. So that way we can keep score. And they literally do. They have a score that so if you send good text and you do a good job, they're going to be able to see that you're a good actor and raise your deliverability. If you're a spammer, they're going to be able to erase you from history and you won't be able to run on them. You won't be able to go to another provider or buy a new phone number and just keep doing what you were doing. That right there is A2P in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. That was the intent.
Yeah, got it. So, I kind of get it. And part of me, as a consumer likes it because I guess it was August 31st, this officially rolled out. And
well, actually, to be fair, all the other providers actually had already done their deadline. So we used Twilio, and Twilio had actually gotten the absolute last deadline. So big providers are like bandwidth.com or Telnix or Plevo. Those guys had actually done it all in January. So Twilio held out to the end.
Yeah, got it. So I definitely saw a decrease in messages going out though. Even stuff hitting my inbox or my text inbox.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. But definitely caused some issues for agency owners and even, small business owners who were trying to send out messages.
Absolutely.
Going into the HighLevel Facebook group, and it was post after post after post. And, 2 things pop up in that group all the time. It's SMS compliance and it's email deliverability. And if you've been in that group more than 5 or 10 minutes or 5 or 10 days, it's like, dude, just go hit the search bar and do yourself a little bit of legwork there and figure it out. This has been posted 8 million times. So my
At least
little
the
rant.
good news on A2P10 DLC is what was really rough about that one was there was this initial. So the problem is, it's like anything, right? We've been talking about it for 2 years, but you get this alarm beeping at you for long enough and you just ignore it, right? And so a lot of people did. And so at the end, there was this massive rush. So there's this big line essentially backed up, people trying to get their compliance done. The nice thing that we've seen is that amount of time has shrunk dramatically. So it used to be 2 weeks, and now we're seeing things like 48 hours. Now, and I'd say it's on average now it's about 72. And I think on a go forward basis, it's going to be one of those like annoyances, but that we just sort of eventually like get over.
Yeah.
Where it'll be like, oh, of course you're going to have to wait 72 hours to get this approved. That's fine. And if you have some urgent need, you can buy a toll-free number, although there's some, information that will change actually. Eventually, A2P will come to toll-free as well. But point is like, we'll just all accept that and we'll move on. Unfortunately, email deliverability, it's funny because I almost wish email deliverability was the same way, because the problem with email deliverability is it's way too hocus pocus, because everyone will run around saying like, ooh, I know all the answers, but it's like, no, you don't, because Google doesn't tell you what the answers are, and neither does Microsoft. They control like 98% of email. So at the end of the day, like they didn't create a centralized registry. They just have these behind the scenes algorithms that people try to take guesses at and unfortunately get wrong all the time, but really like to talk like they know what they're saying. And unfortunately, it leads to a lot of misinformation. But, we do our best.
You do. And that's why there's experts within experts in that group too. And I think people need to
That's the
leverage
thing,
that.
right? That's exactly right. We have some really phenomenally great people who have a track record, and that's who you want to talk to, because they really do understand the rules.
Agreed. Shaun, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you coming in here, jamming with me today, sharing some insight, talking about the success of HighLevel. And I'm just excited to watch you guys just keep kicking butt. And I am a user and don't plan on going anywhere else, sir.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And we wouldn't be here without amazing people like you. So I just am so thankful that we've got great people in our community just like you.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing you in Dallas in a couple of weeks. I think we're 2 or 3 weeks out, which is cool. The 23rd of October, you'll be here. I'll get in there and hang out with you guys and see some cool things. Maybe come over there and shake your hand.
Can't wait.
Yeah. You got a spot you want to share with us? You got a website? You got a personal page? Anything you want to send traffic to?
Anybody who hasn't checked us out, I always throw out the YouTube channel because I don't want to have if you don't want to go sign up for a trial right this second, YouTube's a great place to start. You get a lot of behind the scenes information. You can see all of my crazy weird videos. You can get a lot of cool interviews with amazing people. So there's lots and lots of good info there, and you can see behind the scenes without signing up. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, go to YouTube and just search HighLevel.
Cool, man. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks again. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Step It Up Entrepreneur Podcast. Make sure you head over to stepitupentrepreneur.com and make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Step It Up Entrepreneur Podcast.